Okay, so our project that we're learning about now is a reversible purse. And this is what it looks like when we get done. It'll look like this, and it'll be completely reversible. So you get 2 looks. You can have like a Christmas fabric here on the bottom, Halloween fabric here, and just turn it for whatever season. Okay, so that's what we're making. Here's our pattern that I gave you. This is the bottom part. It's only a 2-piece pattern. And this part says cut 2 of fabric, cut 2 of lining, cut 2 of interfacing. Check your pattern to see if I drew the grain line on there of your how you'll lay it on your fabric. For example, like if you've got a striped fabric, something that's turned a certain way, then this would be cut out according to how it says on the pattern. Now I did do some of mine purposely, you know, if you want your stripes to be sideways, you can purposely change it. Then right here we've got some darts we're going to be putting in the when we sew it together, but don't worry about that right now, though you will after your fabric's cut out, you will have to go back and probably mark that with chalk so that you know how much to gather the fabric to make your dart. And then this is the hard piece. This is the bag band strap. It says cut. We're going to have a total of 8 of these that we have to cut out. 4 for the interfacing and 8 out of fabric. But here's what's different about it. If you can see, one side is slightly wider than the other side. So it does matter which way you turn it. So you're actually going to cut 4 with this side face up, draw around it, cut out 4, and then you're going to cut out 4, turn it, lay it face down, so the back side's going to be face up, and you're going to cut your other 4 out. You have to do that. Now, if you do like I did on this, to where you don't do all 8 of your pieces out of the same fabric, where you do one side one color and one side the other, then you're going to cut 2 face up and 2 face down. So that's what I'm doing right here on this piece of fabric. Is I cut out 4 of this fabric, and I had to do 2 face up, 2 face down when I cut it out, and so now I'm going to do 4 of this because mine's going to be a different color on each side. Now here's a quick way that you can cut it out. You can have a piece of fabric and fold it in half, so now when you place your piece, you're cutting 2 out, and one of them, because it's folded in half, one of them would qualify as the face down one. So if you're doing it on a folded piece of fabric, you would actually only trace this 4 times, because see, you get 2 for each one, and it's the opposite, it's the flipped version of it, so you would end up with 8. And how I do it to save on fabric is I would like draw it like this, then I would flip this, because look how when you do this. And this fabric, if your print obviously would only go up and down, that wouldn't work. But the grain line on this fabric runs this way. And so see, I've got my arrow here on my pattern that it should be turned this way. Now if this was like a bird on this fabric, to where the bird, you know, would be upside down one way or the other, this wouldn't work. But this one has a print that can be reversed. So I would lay it on here, trace around it, and I don't know what we could do to make these pattern pieces to where they would lay flat. I actually ironed this, but it's still curling up. I'm going to draw around it with my chalk. Okay, so can you see the outline of my pattern there. Set that on there, see if it'll hold it. So now for this next one, now since I'm doing these to where the one underneath is the equivalent of my face down piece, all 4 of these will be with this side face up. So see, now I can place another one and turn it upside down and see how I can get this pattern. I can get more out of less amount of fabric by reversing the, and remember that only works if you have a fabric that doesn't have an up or down pattern. Okay, so see, now I've got two cut out on that. So I'd repeat that 2 more times and I'd have my total of 4. When I cut it out, that would also cut out the one on the back side. I would have a total of 8, and it would be the equivalent of 4 face up and 4 face down. Okay, that's just an option you have if you're using your yard for all for both sides of your strap. Like I said, for mine, I was going to do different fabric on either side. So right here, I've got my piece of fabric. I'm folding it in half, and because my chalk is not going to show up on the back side of this, I'm actually going to use a permanent marker to trace mine so that I can see it. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do, because this permanent marker, it's going to bleed through and it's going to ruin your fabric if it's not in the seam. If you draw on it wrong, or if you lay it out, your fabric's ruined. But I already have pre-laid this out, so I know that this is how I want it. So otherwise I would do it with chalk to have something that would wash off. Okay, so remember, it's 2 up and 2 face down if you're doing a different colored fabric on each side, and that's what I have. Okay, so there's my, so I already cut out 4 out of this fabric. So now I'm cutting out 4 out of this one, but it's folded. So I'm going to show you how this works. Okay, so now I should have my 4 pieces, and it should be the equivalent of 4 face up and 4 face down. See, when I open it up, because it was folded, the wide and smaller sides are opposite of each other. And that's a good thing to mark, especially if you have 8 pieces all the same fabric. So I can tell, if I fold it over, I can tell which one is the wide side. See? So this is, I'm going to mark my wide side so that as we're matching this up from this point on, we know which ones are the wide side. Now, our first order thing we're going to do, this is what we're making right here. We're making the top part of our bag, and we did this in class. So all you've got to do when you get home is top stitch it. And right here on all the curves, which I'll show you in this video, but you need to clip that fabric. Don't cut into your seam, but just clip the fabric so that when you fold it over and try to top stitch, it'll lay down flat. Otherwise it's going to wad up, because fabric cannot lay down flat if it's a curve without it being clipped so that it can move. Okay, so what we do when we sew these 2 pieces together is we need wide sides on the same side. So see, I'm putting these there's a wide side, there's my mark on my chalk, there's a wide side. They're on the same side. The shorter side is on the same side. So I'm going to match them up to know those 2 go together. Now I'm going to sew a seam across right here. So I've got that one ready to sew across. Now this one, I put one above it. Now see, this wouldn't work if it would have been all the same fabric, because where's my chalk? Good grief. I didn't even get 5 minutes into the video and I've lost my chalk. Well, anyways, this is the wide side of this cutout. So if I put this one above this, I would have a wide side over here and a wide side over here, and that's not going to work. When you fold them over and match them, see, they don't match up. That's a skinny side on top of a wide side. So that's how you will know. When you fold it over, if they don't match, then you've got the wrong ones. Wide, wide, fold it over, it matches. The skinny sides are on top of each other, the wide sides are on top of each other. Okay, those 2 are ready to sew across. Okay, so I've got my 2 pieces, and I'm fixing to sew it across the top of my straps that I have cut out. So I'm going to sew it across the top, and then I'm going to get my 4 pieces of interfacing, and I've got to match those together. Wide sides on top, skinny sides on top of each other. I'm going to sew it across there. So I'm going to sew my straps, I'm going to sew my interfacing across, and then I'm going to come back and sandwich them together. Okay, so right here I'm sewing the top part of my strap together, and I'm doing about a 3/8 seam. The instructions actually call for a 1/2 inch seam, so you can make it wider. I just have a tendency to put my the foot at the edge of the fabric and sew along that. If you want to make the 1/2 inch seam, just once you do 1/2 inch seams on the straps, you need to do it on all of them so that they'll match. So, but I'm going to do a 3/8, which is just kind of the edge of my foot. Now your foot may be wider, shorter, so, and then some people have actually the listing right here on their guide, their foot guide. So you would know, put the edge of your fabric, you would know exactly where 1/2 inch is. So I'm just sewing those together. Here's my lining. And I already sewed my interfacing together. Okay, so now we're going to sandwich it. So I'm going to open up this piece. Now I open up my other piece. And I put right sides together. Okay, that's not working. That's a fat side on top of a short side. Right here. So I'm gonna switch it around. There we go. Now it's fat side on top of a fat side and skinny side to skinny side. And remember, the good sides of fabric are together and my curved parts are matching as close as possible. Now, after I get the right sides together, I've got it opened up, right sides together. Now I put my interfacing on. And the interfacing is going to be opened up. I got my two pieces sewed together. I'm opening it up. I'm putting it on top of the straps. Matching it up as close as possible. Then I'm going to pin it together, because this is definitely going to move around, and you want your corners, you want your straps to be about the same amount of length. Okay, this is coming out to where it's like I made this a little longer. So let me just stick this in the sewing machine real quick and make my seam just a little bit thicker so that it shortens that strap. Y'all know I do a lot of adjusting as I go. I hope that's not confusing, because if you're not an avid sewer, that may be confusing. Like, what is she adjusting? And I do that because I don't cut stuff out the right time or cut it crooked, and then I just adjust as I go. Okay, that fits a little bit better. So I'm pinning this together. Middle, pinning through all the pieces. So this is what I have that I'm fixing to sew together. Okay, and I'm only going to sew the curved side. I am not sewing that. I am not sewing the bottom. I'm not sewing the sides. I'm only sewing a seam on the curved on each side. Now, if you've got a situation like this right here, to where you've got a lot of fabric sticking out past it, if that's confusing to you, you're obviously going to have to sew inside the shortest piece. Because if you sew on that long piece there and then it doesn't catch the short piece, then you've got something that's not together. So if that's, I know that when I sew it together, I've just got to catch everything. But if that's confusing to you, you might want to take this time to trim it up, to cut off any excess that's sticking out, so that those insides, all three pieces match. Interfacing and two pieces of fabric. Now remember, your two good sides of fabric should be facing each other, and then your interfacing is on top. Okay, so we're just sewing our curved sides. And here I've got another one right here. See, to where it's sticking out. So I may trim that. Okay. So now I'm putting it in here to sew. Once again, I'm just following the edge. I'm actually following the edge of my interfacing. I cut out the interfacing, so it's probably not real good and straight, so you might want to follow the edge of your fabric, or cut it all to where, and when you sew around a curve there, I'll show you when I get down here again, just kind of keep the edge of your foot with the curve. Right here, we need to open all this up so we don't have a wad. Open up that seam. Here's the one in the middle. Let's open it up. Actually gonna have to move No, I'm not. I'm gonna have to move my pen. And now I'm opening up my interfacing seam. That way it just makes it a little bit flatter when I sew across it. If you sew yours, I did one all together and it made a wad, but hey, it worked. And what I mean by that when I'm saying open it up, what I'm saying is right here, your seam that you made, just open the flap like that and lay it down so that when you sew, see how you've opened it up and you're sewing across it that way. That just makes it a little more flat. Okay. It looks like three seams across on top of one another right there. Okay, now see right here when I get down here to my curved part, I'm just letting the kind of the middle of my foot, I'm just roughly keeping it at the edge of the curve. Just turning it as I go, just roughly keeping the edge of that foot, and that's how you make a curve. Not difficult at all once you get used to it. Okay, I'm going to sew my other side, and then we're going to come back and open it up. Okay, so let's turn it right side out, take our pins out.
You want me to start scrambling the...
Scrambling what? Okay, so we, right sides, start pushing it through. Pulling it out. This is going to take a little while. We're pulling it out. I can hear all the noise in the background. I've got somebody trying to help me with lunch. Okay, now right here, when you've pulled it enough to where that, I'm having to figure out where the camera angle is, to where it's starting to pull up in there. And I told you in class, just fold these sides in. Fold it in there. To where you've sort of got a roll down at the bottom that you can push up in that hole. And it not be such a big wad that you can't get through. Okay. So I've pushed that up in my tunnel. And now we've just got to work this out. This might take some patience. It's going to be aggravating, but it's not impossible. It's just going to be aggravating if you waited to the last minute and then you're frantically trying to get it done. But you don't have to bring this to class with you Monday if you don't want to. Now if you've got yours completed, you could bring it and we could actually sew the bottom on in class since we only have 6 girls. And the bottom is going to be drastically easier to do than this top. We probably would actually have time in class if everybody wants to bring their sewing machine. And we can sew them on in class. Or if just a couple of people want to bring their sewing machine, we can take turns. Okay, I'm going to finish pulling both of these out and then I'll be back. There we go. Okay, so we've got our 2 pieces, 2 straps sewed together and turned right side out. Now we're at the complicated part where we got to sew the 2 pieces together. Okay, you know earlier I said mark your wide side so you would know which one is the wide side. And the way that you can compare it now if you hadn't marked it is fold it over and you can see that one side is longer than the other. So mark your wide side so that you know. Whoops, I did the short side. Let me erase that. So right here, I'm gonna and that one's wider, so I'm gonna mark it with the chalk. And so this will be my 4th. Trying to find my 4th wide one. Okay, and it's this one. Okay. So now we've got all the ones that are wide marked with chalk so that we know. Okay, so here's my strap, how we made it. This is what it should look like. Okay. Open it up like this. This is what we're going to be dealing with. Now, we don't want the wide sides. We're going to sew the small sides together first. And really, I don't see why it makes a difference whether you do the wide sides or short sides together. I mean, how does it know? But the directions say do the short sides together, so we're going to do the short sides together. So I've got it opened up like this, where my seam is in the middle. I'm going to get another strap. Okay, that's a wide one because it's got my chalk marks. So let's turn it around the other side. There's this is the short side. I've got it opened up to where my seam's in the middle. Now I've got it opened up and I'm going to lay it on my opened up piece right here. Does that make sense? I've got my short side opened up. I'm laying it on top of my other opened up side. I got the seams on top of one another. So here I am pinning it. Hold the seams together. I mean to where the seams are kind of in the middle. And I'm going to sew that together.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's what we've got. I joined them two sides together. I opened it up. Alright, so now we got the other two ends. There's the two up there that we joined, so we're going to lay it down. It should automatically be our two short sides across from each other. Here's our strap that we made. Okay, so it should automatically be our two short sides. So see how we've got our two short sides together right here. We got to sew that together. So I'm opening it up so that I can sew it together. See how I opened it up? Now take one side that's opened up and I match it to this side. Put it together, right sides together. Okay? Get my pin. I'm pinning it in the middle. Ouch. Now, my seams, when I pinned it together, I wanted my seams to be across from each other. Ooh. Okay, yeah, I thought something was wrong for a minute. My seams are across from each other. That's most important. But when I look down here on the end, one side, I'm going to find the camera, fold it over. As you can see, one side ended up being a little shorter. See, I got this hanging out. Well, that's just unfortunate. I'll have to cut that off. But it's more important that my seams be matching here in the middle. Now on this end, it came out just fine. They're matching together. Okay, I'm gonna sew that together. Sewing machine right here. Sewing about 3/8 of an inch from the edge. You can do a 1/2 inch, like the instructions say. Okay, take my pin out. Now, you should have something like this. Sewed together on both ends, short sides together. Okay, so we're going to, now we've got to sew together the fat sides, the ones that we have marked. So do you do it this way? No. You're going to fold it over like that. So now you've got two fat sides on top of one another. But you got to sew them together. So we open it up. See how I opened it up? Here's the other one. Open it up. This is what I'm sewing together. Matching my seams in the middle. Pinning it together so it'll stay. And it'd probably be a good idea to pin the ends as well, because when you start sewing it has a tendency to want to kick forward. So this is right sides together, opened it up to where the seams are matching, and now I'm sewing it across this way. Okay, I'm gonna do, let's do this one. Now you should have something, whoops, let's take the pins out. Fold it back down. Now it's starting to come together. You should have something that kind of looks like this. You hold it up. It's going to look kind of like this. See, we've got it. Kind of looks like a jumper top right now. We've just got one side left that we got to sew together. So here we are. We take this side, open it up, open up the other side, put it face down. This is the last remaining side. We match the seam together right there, pinning it. Pinning it on the ends to keep it from kicking open. Okay. Okay, so we should have something that looks kind of like this. Kind of looks like a jumper top. But when we make it as a purse, we're actually opening it up this way. Now we've got a purse handles. This way, jumper top. This way, purse handles. So now we've got to top stitch this to make it look nice and neat. So we want to roll to where the seam is at the edge there, and top stitch. See how I'm getting that corner nice and straight? See, I've got the seam right in the edge. Now if you clipped all your curves before you turn the handle right side out, what I forgot to tell y'all to do, and I had to go and do mine at this point just now, which is very hard because I had to open it up and pull my handles halfway back through and clip my seams. So it should have been done before it was turned right side out while it was laying nice and flat on the table. You would have just clipped the curves. So all 4 of these curves should be clipped, otherwise it will not lay down flat. So now we're just going to top stitch. So we're going to be doing 4 curves. You're going to be doing this side, then well, technically it will be 3 times on your machine, because you will do this circle, then you will do this one, but it will actually go up and around and all the way to the other side, and then you do the other circle. So this is what it will look like after it's top stitched. This is the one that I did in class. And I went ahead, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I went ahead and got some orange thread and I've top stitched it. So look what a drastic difference. See how nice and flat it is now? Let's turn it the other side, how it'll be when it's reversed. I did the other thread black so that you can't really see it on this side. Look what a big difference from this puffy, wadded up looking thing. So your top stitching is very, very important, and then that's all there is to the first part.